Today I want to talk about a trend that's been blowing up across social media, something people are calling the winter arc. And if you're on TikTok or Instagram, you've probably seen videos and posts about people sharing their winter arc routines, where they dedicate the winter season for intense self-improvement, almost like a personal boot camp in preparation for the new year. And what's cool about the winter arc is that it's a shift from the traditional New Year's resolution mindset. Instead of waiting until January 1st to start making changes, the winter arc encourages us to start right now, using winter for a time of reflection, new habits, and growth. But like any trends, winter arc comes with some mixed messages. Many influencers are sharing their strict winter arc routines, and these can sometimes feel overwhelming or unattainable. So today I want to explore with you both the positives of the winter arc routines and the things we need to be cautious about, why we should avoid the all or nothing trap, and focus on what I like to call the additive mindset. So why the winter arc is so appealing? One of the biggest reasons is that it stops us from waiting until January 1st to start making changes. Just think about it. How many times have we said, I'll start fresh in the new year, only for January to arrive and we already feel overwhelmed by a long list of resolutions? Winter arc is different because it encourages us to start right now, not tomorrow, not next week. Right now. We tend to pull all our expectations on January 1st. But as soon as the initial motivation fades, those New Year's resolutions often feel like burdens. So by shifting our focus on the winter arc, we are embracing the idea that growth can happen at any time. Like, you don't need a perfect date, you don't need ideal circumstances to start making positive changes in your life. What I love about it is that it encourages us to see winter as a season of transformation. Because traditionally we think of winter as a time for slowing down, cozying up, or even hibernating. This winter arc reframes that. It suggests that winter can also be a time of quiet and intentional growth. It's about setting a deep and a strong foundation, so by the time the new year arrives, we are already on a path of self-improvement. As any popular trend, social media has a huge influence on how the winter arc is perceived and practiced. Influencers on TikTok and Instagram have popularized the winter arc by sharing some rigid routines that may include waking up at 5 a.m, following a strict diet, exercising every day, journaling twice a day, reading multiple books a week. And while these routines can be inspiring, they can also feel extreme. For someone watching these videos, it's easy to feel like you need to follow the same steps to achieve the same level of transformation. But here's the thing, not every routine is set for everyone. And sometimes what's good for one person is harmful, is stressful for the other person. Because the problem is that social media often creates this one-size-fits-all goals. But personal growth doesn't look the same for everyone. Many studies have shown that sometimes social media can create some unrealistic expectations about wellness. When we see influencers presenting their winter arc routines in a polished and in a perfect way, it's easy to feel like we're falling short if we can't keep up. There is also another research suggesting that comparing ourselves to idealized versions of wellness on social media lead to anxiety and low self-esteem. And when wellness routines are sometimes demanding or rigid, it can end up doing more harm than good, especially when we feel pressure to follow a certain schedule that doesn't align with our lifestyle or with our own goals. And this brings me to another point, the all or nothing trap. Social media routines make it seem like we have to change everything in our life in just one day. But taking on multiple big changes at once is a recipe for burnout. Just imagine trying to revamp your diet, exercise daily, sleep schedule, mindful practices all at once. You know, studies on habit formation have shown that our brain handles gradual change far better than sudden drastic changes. When we're trying to juggle multiple things at once, we end up overtaxing our mental energy, which often leads to fatigue and frustration. And if you just skip one part of the routine, it's easy to feel like you are not doing good at the other parts. And there is something I've noticed lately. Some people, they can go all in for a few weeks only to feel overwhelmed and completely abandon the routine. So the all or nothing mindset is really damaging because it reinforces the idea that if we're not doing everything perfectly, then we're not doing enough. But your personal growth doesn't have to be about perfection and extremes. It's about finding your balance and genuinely creating routines that will support your mental health. And this is where the additive mindset becomes a powerful alternative. Instead of trying to do it all at once, the additive mindset encourages us to focus on one habit at a time. The idea here is that growth doesn't have to be about checking off a list of wellness goals every day. Instead, it can be about adding positive changes gradually and sustainably. Take sleep, for example. Good sleep is foundational to everything we do in life. When we are well rested, we are more energized. Our mood is better and everything feels more manageable. So starting with just one habit, like getting enough quality sleep, can set the foundation for other changes. And once you're sleeping well, now it can be easier to add another habit, like drinking more water or incorporating more daily exercises. So this approach is all about building momentum. Each habit you master will create a small win, which will boost your confidence and make you feel capable of achieving the next challenge or the next habit. The additive mindset is really about creating a positive feedback loop. When one area of your life improves, the other areas will improve naturally. And because we're building one habit at a time, we are not overwhelming ourselves with a long to-do list. Winter arc also brings up some interesting philosophical questions about growth and how we approach it. For example, in Western culture, there is a strong belief that growth requires hard work, sacrifice, and even suffering. We hear phrases like, no pain, no gain. If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. And this mindset suggests that if we want to grow, we need to push through obstacles. But in many Eastern philosophies, growth is seen differently. Instead of pushing through or fighting against obstacles and challenges, these philosophies often focus on harmony and balance. And growth in this perspective doesn't only come from intense efforts. It can also come from acceptance, from rest, from reflection. Winter, for example, is a season where nature slows down. Animals hibernate, they conserve their energy for the spring, and in many ways, the winter arc aligns with this idea that growth doesn't have to be about pushing yourself to the limits. Sometimes it's about accepting where we are and allowing ourselves to rest. So this brings up an important question. Do we need to struggle and suffer to grow, or can we find growth through acceptance? My proper point of view is that we shouldn't think about growth as something that has always to come with suffering. Sometimes we grow by finding peace and learning how to live in the present moment. So if you're inspired by this winter arc trend but you don't want to fall into the all or nothing trap, I'm gonna show you some practical steps you can follow so that you make this winter arc works for you. The first step is to choose a core habit. You can start with a foundational habit that will support your well-being. For example, sleep is a great place to start, but if you have something more urgent, you can start with that. The second thing is to track your progress and celebrate your small wins. You have to celebrate small wins, like going to bed 15 minutes earlier. You have to do that because this will build your confidence. The third thing is to build on the foundation gradually. Once your first habit feels solid, then add the next habit. And I really want you to go at a pace that feels comfortable to you. You don't have to rush it. The fourth thing is to stay flexible and adjust as needed. So if a new habit feels overwhelming, pause and reinforce the habit you've already built until they become easy. And finally, reflect on the benefits. Take some time to notice the impact of each new habit, like drinking 2 cups of water early in the morning or meditating early in the morning, and remind you of why you're making these changes. So the winter arc isn't about following someone else's rule. It's not about forcing yourself into a strict routine. It's about using winter as a time for intentional personal growth. Just do what I told you. Focus on one habit at a time. Be very mindful of your own unique needs. You don't need to follow everything that you see on social media. And practice self-compassion, because I'm sure we can make this season one of the meaningful transformation without burning out. Let's remember that real growth doesn't come from a checklist. It comes from listening to what we really need and make small and manageable changes. So ask yourself, what's the one thing you can start working on now that can make a difference? And let's go from there, one step, one habit at a time. Thank you so much for watching this video and see you on my next one. Bye!